On this episode of Sasquatch Theory, I'm joined by Larry from Northwest Arkansas. He shares a series of unsettling experiences that span the early to mid 1990s around Lake Wedington, Lincoln Lake, and the surrounding rural backroads. Larry describes a winter night drive where something slammed into the side of his vehicle with enough force to rock the car. Later on in life, he experienced a terrifying encounter while fishing when something large, heavy, and intelligent moved through the brush and entered the water near their boat. These experiences, along with stories of livestock killings and a close friend being chased out of the woods, raising serious questions about what's been roaming this part of Arkansas for decades. If you enjoy listening to Sasquatch Theory, like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and I mean that. Be sure to subscribe to the channel because many people are being unsubscribed. If you would like to join the membership, you can do so now, and it really helps support future videos and the research that I conduct here in the Ozarks. Also, if you have a Bigfoot encounter that you would like to share, feel free to reach out sometime at sasquatchtheory@outlook.com. And with all that being said, let's dive straight into Larry's Bigfoot encounters from Northwest Arkansas. Larry, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much for asking. Larry, if you would, tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and your experiences from the very beginning, please.
My name's Larry. I'm from Arkansas. I've lived in Arkansas my whole life, pretty much in Northwest Arkansas. And always gone outdoors, gone hunted, gone fishing. My parents, I did that when I was a kid, and I just kept doing it as I got older. But I was born in Springdale, and when I was in my early teens, we moved out to Lincoln. Anyway, once I got to where I could drive, I started going out to a lake called Lake Wedington. That's really close to here where I live. It's about 15 miles. And I guess really thinking about it, when my second wife and I, right before we got married, we were out there one night and we were like off down a dirt road, kind of doing, whatever. And it was snowy. It was like right before we got married. We got married in February, so I think this was like January of probably, let's see, like 1990, 91, 92, somewhere in there. And like I said, we were off down a dirt road. It was snowing. We were kind of in the car. And it's in the middle of the night, nobody's out there. And something came up and just hit the side of the car. This is the one I told you that I remembered after the fact. My ex-wife reminded me. And, it's like I just started the car and we drove out. And once we got a little ways from it, I stopped to look, see if there was anything, done to the car. But before we left, it's like I backed up, turned around. I didn't really see any tracks in the snow, but I said there was like brush and stuff and everything all around. There weren't any trees over us, so nothing fell out of the tree, but it hit hard enough it rocked the car, actually, which was kind of freaked me out because there shouldn't have been anything really out there that would have done that. I guess there were bear back then, but I really wouldn't have thought a bear doing it. And they weren't really that common at the time that I know of. And the next thing I can remember really happening is probably about 5 years later. It was summertime, probably late summer, maybe August. And one of my friends and I were out at the same lake fishing in a boat. We were just pulled up on the dam, throwing rubber worms and jigs. And suddenly, you could hear something coming through the brush. It sounded like somebody driving a truck through the trees. Just stuff was getting broke, tore up. just making all kinds of noise, and it was something big. Spending all the time out in the woods and everything, you could tell it wasn't like a deer, and it sounded like a person walking because I've heard plenty of people walk through the woods. And it's like I looked over at my friend because we were sitting out there. It's dark. I don't really think there was that much of a moon. It was clear though, but there just really wasn't any moon. And I looked at my friend and I said, like, what's that? And as soon as I said that, whatever it was on the other side of the dam from us, which that dam's not that big. It stopped and it just like started running up the backside of the dam, ran over the top, down, and jumped in the water and started swimming toward the boat. And that freaked us out. And I just turned on the trolling motor and started trying to get away. It's like something's going to come out the boat in the middle of the night like that. It's just like, I'm going to get out of there. And, it took it a little bit because it was actually catching us, at first, because the trolling motor, it took it a little bit to get up to speed. And it was coming to the back of the boat, obviously. And I don't know if my friend ever saw it because he would never talk about it. And it really wasn't that far after that. We kind of quit hanging around together. It changed things. It was really odd between us. Because I always tried to, talk about it and figure out what it was. And he just never wanted to do anything with it. And like I said, I don't know if he ever saw it. I never did. But I've looked up videos of bears swimming and stuff like that. And just the way it sounded swimming, it sounded like a person. Because a bear, would kind of like do a dog paddle, more or less. And I've listened to that and looked at videos of different animals. And yeah, nothing really sounds like that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much that for that. And the only other things I remember, like I said, we live about 15 miles from there, and we've got 17 and a half acres. Most of it's wooded. We have a pond that's spring fed. And we live close to Lincoln Lake, which is the town I live in, where I live just outside of. And there's like a lot of black panthers, mountain lions, whatever you want to call them. We've got a lot of bobcats and stuff. But I know a couple times we've had stuff come up and just bang on the side of the house. I've heard it a couple of times, and one day when my son still lived here, he called me at work and said something was just going around the house banging on the wall. And he never did go outside to look at it and try to see what it was. I always did, but I never saw anything. But that stuff like that always happened in the summer. It's been a really long time since anything like that's happened. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I've got.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a lot. It's just, and we actually never got to see anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's definitely worth reporting. The creature that hit the side of the vehicle, was it like the backside or the side of the car, the passenger side?
It was the back. I really couldn't tell what side.
Mm-hmm.
I had like a little Dodge Charger, not one of the V8 ones, but one of the newer 4 cylinders. It came out in like the early 80s. If you remember those, it's like a little hatchback.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like in the back, and something, whenever, hit the car, it's like I crawled back up in the front seat and started the car, turned the lights on. Like I said, I had to turn around to get out. We didn't ever see anything, didn't ever see any tracks. But once we got, back out to pavement, I stopped and looked at the car, got out and looked. I didn't see any dents or anything. Because I said it hit it hard enough to rock the car. But honestly, I couldn't tell you. It was in the back, toward the back where we were. But I couldn't honestly say for sure which side it was. Because we were just off down a trail in the woods.
Yeah, that's terrifying either way, though. And
Yeah.
did it cause any damage to the vehicle?
No, it just, It's like if I was a kid out, and I came up on, if I knew one of my friends were out in the woods doing stuff like that, I'd go up and just whack the side of their car to scare them. It was something like that. But like I said, it was January. It was about midnight and it was snowing. I really couldn't figure anybody would be, out in the woods at that time of night in the snow looking for somebody doing what we were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the next experience that you had, you and some friends were fishing at the lake, and it sounded like a huge vehicle was moving through the woods, but you could tell it was bipedal, like a giant man.
Yeah. Yeah. We thought it might have been a bear because it was kind of huffing when it was walking, like, like that. But it didn't. When it ran and when it walked, it sounded bipedal. And when it swam, it definitely sounded like a person swimming.
Yeah,
And
that
it's just
definitely
something
sounds
you
like
wouldn't,
Sasquatch to me. Why do you think it got in the water and started swimming towards the boat?
unless we just surprised it or it had, like, I don't, wouldn't have thought it would have had a little one with it as fast as it was going, just walking, because it was moving along at a pretty good clip and tearing stuff up. But honestly, unless we just startled it, I have no idea. Because I said it was just quiet night. We were the only people out there. That's why I always liked to used to go out there when I was, a lot when I'd fish at night because there wasn't anybody else out there hardly.
Yeah. I feel like it was being territorial, and they often display this type of behavior when people are fishing.
I've heard a couple other stories online, people called in and stuff about stuff like that. Nothing quite like what we had happen, but similar.
Yeah. And have you ever spoken with any other locals in the area that have seen these things or have had strange experiences?
I've talked to a couple people. I had another friend who said he thought he saw, actually got chased out of the woods, he thought, by a Bigfoot. But that was in a different area. That was out by kind of, if you look it up, there's on a map, there's a town where I live. It's called Lincoln. And if you go out a road called 45, there's another little town called Clyde. And it's just more or less just a few houses.
No, wow. Yeah. So
But
still pretty close.
yeah, it's probably within 20 miles. I said he was out doing things he shouldn't have been doing in the woods at the time. Don't really want to go into too much detail, but he got chased to something. He said something started tearing up trees and stuff, and it chased him back to his truck. And honestly, I really thought he was messing with me, but just as scared as he looked telling me the story, I was, I kind of really did believe him because he was just, I've never saw him that scared of anything before. And it's like me when whatever happened to us out there in the lake that night. I've never really been that scared of anything in my life, but that was pretty terrifying.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And yeah, earlier this week, I had a lady call in from Northwest Arkansas and she shared her encounters. And she was by, I think it's called the Spring River, which doesn't seem to be too far away from you. But I've also had reports from like Fayetteville and the Ozark National Forest. And you're not too far away from Cherokee Nation there. So it makes sense.
Well, the forest, Wedington's got forest, and that's Ozark National Forest out there. And that's the odd thing about it to me, because there's a different part of the forest we used to go hunt at close to a place called Strickler. And I've had bear walk up on me out there, and I've had bobcat walk up on me out there. But I would always, I'd go out there and I would, like a cold day, get up under a tree and the sun come out. I would get sleepy and I would doze off and just sit out there in the woods and take a nap, leaned up against a tree. But like I said, at Wedington, where we used to go hunt out there and stuff, I was never that comfortable out there to actually do that leaned up against a tree. It always just felt off to me.
Yeah, like you were being watched or something.
Yeah, I mean, it was just never that comfortable of a place. But we saw other strange things happen out there besides that. These were more people related. I mean,
Mm.
so we were walking down a trail one day and we came up to a clearing and somebody spilled out boom with rocks. I mean, that's just not something you'd really expect to see. And I know at that time they were finding a lot of people growing marijuana out there that weren't supposed to be. And we were always kind of worried that that would be like booby traps and stuff, because they did that stuff back then. Shotguns and stuff in trees. People get out there messing around and shoot them.
Hmm. Yeah, you never know. And it's definitely an eerie place. Recently, I think there was two different people that were mauled by black bears out there. And it just goes to show how much woods there is in Arkansas.
Yeah, like I said, my son hunts bear. He hunts pigs. I've gone pig hunting with him. I mean, stuff like that doesn't really bother me. And like I said, when I'd go out to Strickler with my dad and my son, I never, I'd sit out there and lean up against a tree and go to sleep. I never really worried about it. I was just never that comfortable at Wedington. I don't know. I can't say what the difference was. It was just spooky. I never had that comfortable of a feeling out there. I was always on edge sitting out in the woods out there.
Yeah, I can see why. And it looks like there's a lot of woods around it. And are there any springs or caves in the area? Do you know?
Well, there's a lot of water. I mean, there's a lot of water, a lot of ponds back up in there. I know we found some, but I'm sure there are springs. I'm looking at the map of it now, and somewhere close there's a Chamber Springs
Mm.
access going to the Illinois River, which the Illinois runs through there. And it's a lake. I mean, there's water all over the place. There's farms. There are a lot of chicken farms and stuff around, but there's still a lot of woods.
Yeah. And the encounter happened close to the dam, correct?
Yeah, yeah, probably within 50 foot of it because it came up over the dam and was swimming to us. We were fishing. If you were in the lake sitting looking at the dam, we were on the left side because we like to fish at that corner.
Mm.
There were a lot of down trees and stuff, and we used to catch a few bass in there at night. That's where we would go either start or finish the night out at.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard a lot of reports where people encounter Sasquatch by the dam. And there's a place in Missouri called Lake Wapapello, and a lot of people talk about having Bigfoot encounters or experiences by the dam when they're fishing.
I've never heard of that lake. So
Yeah, it's not too far away from Arkansas, but it's yeah, a little it's a little ways away from there, so I can understand that. What other experiences have you had? Have you experienced anything out of the norm other than cryptid creatures, any UFOs, paranormal activity, anything like that?
nothing I can really say. I know another night we were out there fishing. I always thought it was just a meteor, but we were fishing up in the back end. There's cabins you can rent. And let me get a drink. My voice sounds crappy. Hmm. We used to fish up in there because there was a lot of grass and we'd catch bass in the grass and the beavers. The beavers were fun because they'd come up and slap the water with their tail and try to chase us out. But something exploded in the sky one night. It started out, it was kind of like a really light purple, and then it went to pink. And I found a doorbell video online of another pink flash in the sky like that. But honestly, I think that was a meteor because they can burn those colors and whatever. Maybe it started out burning whatever it was in it was the purple. I can't remember what causes them to burn that color.
Yeah,
I know
that's
copper
really
will make them
interesting.
burn green,
Mm.
but that blew up like in the sky right above us, and that was interesting because at the time I really had no clue what that would have been.
Yeah. And have you ever noticed any strange balls of light in the woods at the lake or anywhere else?
I haven't, but I've talked to people who have, I guess, out there at that lake, and they said they've had similar kind of experiences as I have, but nothing I can say honestly for sure.
Yeah. I'm sure people have had rocks thrown at them at that lake, especially where you were fishing at. It just seems like the perfect spot for them to throw rocks and cause havoc.
One other thing that happened out there I always thought was odd, and I never could really find a good reason for it. There's a place, there's a really nasty curve right there at the lake, and you used to be able to park right close to that, and you could walk off in the woods. But we always, that one year we were hunting close to the pavement, not too far. I mean, far enough away to be legal, but we were seeing some doe come through there, and we were out there muzzleloader hunting. But it was like me, my dad, and my friend who I was out there with the boat that night, and we were all kind of parked, or we walked in separated from each other. But soon my friend came over to me because he heard it too. There was like a lady yelling for help. And then we got up there, my dad was already up there, but a lady like hit an ice patch and rolled her car off the road. And she was about 15, 20 feet in the trees. And we never heard her do it, but we could hear her yelling for help, but we never heard the actual car crash. And it was just a few minutes before because the wheels were still spinning on her car. It was odd, but yeah, we never actually heard the car crash, which I never understood how that could happen.
Yeah, that is
In this,
strange for sure.
I mean, and it's just weird things have happened out there.
Hmm.
Nothing you can really say. I wouldn't know how to say anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, the car crash I never really could figure out because we never heard the actual car go through, I mean, going through the trees and rolling over. You think that would be noisy.
Yeah, you would think for sure. And it kind of sounds like the Squatch followed you home because they were slapping on the side of the house. And I think you said they did it multiple times.
Yeah, it's just been a long time since I've done it.
Yeah. Why do
Because
you think they did it?
I have no idea, honestly. I do astrophotography. So I'm outside a lot at night and I work nights. So, and sometimes I just like to go sit out at night, look up at the sky. And I don't know why it would have. Like I said, we live on 17 acres, most of it's wooded, and there's farms all around us. We've got a spring-fed pond. And I mean, I don't really know what they would eat if they would eat chickens. We've got chicken houses. And I mean, just, I guess that's one other thing that did happen. I just remembered. Dad thought it was a cat, but I had already moved. I moved away when I was younger for a while before I moved back out to the family land. But something broke into mom and dad's chicken house and killed all their chickens one night. And there were just like dead chickens everywhere. And said it looked like something was up in a tree eating them because there were a lot of dead chickens up on top of their chicken house. But he thought it was a cat. But I have honestly no clue what that would have been. That would have just tore through the side of their chicken house and killed all their chickens at one time.
Yeah, that sounds like a cryptid creature. It's hard to say if it was, but you never know
Yeah.
for something to break into the chicken coop and kill every single chicken. I mean, I don't feel like a fox could do that or a possum.
The only other thing, like maybe a bobcat or a panther lion or something, because we've got those out here.
Yeah, it'd have to be like a mountain lion or a bear or something of that size for sure.
Back when that happened, that was probably around 25 years ago. I wouldn't have thought I really wouldn't even think it would be a bear now. We have bear close to us now, but not that close. But I know we've had cats around all this time. But they always, I never really always wondered if a cat would actually just come in and kill every bird like that. I figured they would just come in and get enough, and then go away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would
But,
think.
but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you can think of?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, there's not a lot to what's happened, and it's just, odd things. And the thing with the lake out there with whatever tried to get to the boat that night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like the biggest thing I've ever had happen.
Yeah, it's certainly something to make note of. And these things have been known to swim in the water. And I mean, you heard it huffing, breaking limbs, and moving through the woods. So that's what it had to have been. It possibly got into the water, and that's freaky.
Yeah, I said it was at night. I know there wasn't a moon because we couldn't see anything. And my friend always had a spotlight. I don't know if he turned the spotlight on and saw it because, like I said, it was dark and I didn't take the time to turn on the light. I knew kind of where we were sitting and how we were sitting and which way I needed to go. I said we didn't even reel in our lines. I just turned the trolling motor on and started going because it really scared me. So I had never seen that many things in life that scared me, but that really did.
Yeah, I completely understand that. And you probably made the right choice to get out of the area.
Yeah, it's like you could hear it walking away after it went back to the bank and stuff, and it left. But I said, unless it was just like being territorial, like you said, I don't even really have a good idea of why it came in the water after us. But like I said, if I hadn't have said what I said, it wouldn't have known we were there because it heard me whenever I said, it's like, what is that? And that's when it knew we were there and it came after us.
Yeah. Well, it's very possible. And grizzly bears will do that too. If it doesn't matter if you're in the water, if they want to get you, they'll get in the water and swim towards you.
I've never heard of a bear doing that. I've even tried to look up online over the years, different animals that would do that.
Yeah, I don't think a black bear will do that, but grizzly bears will if they're hunting something. So I feel like the Sasquatch would as well.
Yeah, I'm glad black bear won't do stuff like that because I don't want to worry about them.
Yeah, I don't blame
I
you.
mean, they're not that bad, I don't guess.
Yeah.
I said I've seen those out in the woods and they don't bother me that much.
Mm-hmm.
I've just never had, I've spent all my life out in the woods. I've just never had anything chase me.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to keep me updated if you have any more experiences in the future. And if you run into anyone else who's seen a Sasquatch, tell them to get a hold of me. I'd like to hear their experiences and log down as many reports as possible.
Yeah, if I come across anybody, I will.
Okay.
Said most people don't really talk about that stuff, I guess. It's still kind of a weird thing. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
but I have people that know me that I've talked to about it, and that they say it's probably a Bigfoot too. People who've known me my whole life, family and stuff, who know I'm not trying to get something over on them by telling them about this. And yeah, it's just weird.
Oh yeah. And I appreciate you for getting in contact with me and sharing your report here on the channel. It really means a lot, and I'm glad you did.
I appreciate you listening. It's just, I've never talked to really anybody about this before other than just like family and a few close friends.
Yeah.
And it's good to share because that was just really weird.
Oh yeah. And I believe you. And from what you described, it sounds like Sasquatch activity. So, yeah, be careful the next time you're out there.
I haven't gone out there in years now.
Okay. Well,
I mean, like I said, we live close to it, and I go out here at night and stuff, and I've never had trouble with anything. But
mm-hmm.
I pay attention to what's going on, like bugs and stuff like that. And it's always really noisy here when I go outside at night to take pictures. So,
Oh yeah, for sure. You just never know. It doesn't matter what woods you go to, they could be there. But listening to these podcasts, you'll be able to identify the source of the sound and get out of there if you need to.
yeah. Yeah, luckily here it's just a little bit to the house.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Larry. Well, I appreciate your time, and you did a great job at describing the experiences that you've had.
I hope so. I've never done this before either. This is the first.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let you go for now, and I'll let you know when I post this up in the future, okay?
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, and you take care.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Bye. Larry's experiences around Lake Wedington and Northwest Arkansas add to a growing pattern of reports describing large, intelligent creatures interacting with both land and water in remote areas of the Ozarks. From something powerful enough to strike a moving vehicle to heavy bipedal movement through dense brush to a swimmer entering the lake with purpose and intent, these encounters leave more questions than answers. Whether it's unexplained livestock killings, aggressive behavior toward people, or long-term activity in the same region, Larry's story highlights just how little we may truly understand about what's been sharing these forests and waterways with us for decades. The encounters in the Ozarks never seem to end, and there seems to be a growing pattern with these experiences. I believe that less than 5% of these encounters are actually being shared online, and many people keep these experiences to themselves to avoid ridicule. So I urge people to speak up and share their experiences online to help other people who go out there camping and they take their children out there. People who have no idea that these things exist. And it also helps the people who have rose up and shared their stories with everyone here online, because there's a lot of ridicule behind this. There's a stigma. It's very taboo, and we need your help in what's going on here, because we can't do this alone. I know a lot of people are taking these encounters to their graves. They're worried about ridicule, and especially from their own family members. It is really hard to share these experiences. There's a lot of trauma that's tied into these encounters, and it can really mess a person up, but it definitely helps sharing these encounters, and you don't have to give away your actual name. But yeah, I appreciate everyone for listening. If you guys can, share your encounters here on Sasquatch Theory, and until the next one, you guys be safe out in the forest.